What's up guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the enumerate function in Python. So let's get started. So a lot of times when we're dealing with iterators, we also need to keep account of iterations. Python eases our task by providing us with an enumerate. So the enumerate function adds a counter to an iterable and returns it in a form of enumerate object. This enumerate object can be used directly in for loops or be converted into a list of tuples using the list method. So first, let's just review what an iterable is. An iterable is something you can iterate over, for example, a list. So I'll just call this list1 and I'll set it equal to 1, 2, 3. And now we can do for I in list1 print I. And now if you run this, you'll get your output is 1, 2, 3. So that's what an iterable is. And the syntax for enumerate is enumerate iterable and the start. And the start is basically what enumerate starts counting at. So now I'll create a list. I'll call this L1 and I'll set it equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'll create an enumerate object. So I'll just call this object1 equals enumerate parentheses L1. Now I'm going to print out the type of our enumerate object. Now I'll actually print out our enumerate object as values in a list. So I'll do print list enumerate L1. And this should actually be object1. Okay, and this type method, it tells you the type of your object. And I went over that in my last helpful methods video. So check that one out if you haven't already. I'm just going to print out list enumerate L1, comma 5. And like I was saying, this is the start. So it's basically what the counting starts at. Alright, so now let's take a look at this. And we get classes enumerate. So when we print out print type enumerate object1, that tells us that it is an enumerate type object. And now when we do print list1 enumerate L1, we get at 0 is 1, at 1 is 2, 2 is 3, and so on. And then over here when we started at 5, the first item, instead of being 0, it's 5. So 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, and so on. You can also use this function in a for loop. And there's two ways to do that. So I'll just create another list, and in it I'll store values 1, 6, 3, 8. So I have my list there. So there's two things which we can do. So the first thing we can do is for element in enumerate list1 print element. So now let's run this and we get 0, 1, 1, 6, 2, 3, 3, 8. So this is kind of like what we printed out last time, except it's just printed out in this format and it's not in a list. Before, we just had a list of all of these tuples, and each of these were separated by a comma. Now we just have them all out in one line. Now let me show you the other thing we can do with this method. So for count element in enumerate list1, and let's just set the start at 1. So for count element in enumerate list 1, print count and element. So let's take a peek. And we get basically the same output, except the counting starts at 1. And instead of it being in a tuple, we just have it printed out side by side. This was obviously just a basic rundown of what Enumerate can do. It wasn't a full, say, tutorial of Enumerate. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And that's it for today. Peace.